Hello. Today I'm going to talk a little bit of football. I'm a huge Chicago Bears fan, and they're having a very rough season. And the Bears are in desperate need of a franchise quarterback. I think it's safe to say the Jay Cutler experience was a great tease, but didn't quite work out the way we had hoped. So the last three games, Matt Barkley, former USC star, has started and it's done pretty well. So a lot of people are, hey, can this be the guy? Can Matt Barkley be the guy? And then you listen to the experts like in the Chicago Tribune, they'll write articles and say, he has no chance. That's why he was a fourth round draft pick. That's why he was a backup in Philadelphia. That's why he got cut by Arizona. That's why he was a third stringer with the Bears when the season started. Well, I'm going to be a little bit more optimistic, and there's a reason why, which I'll get to in a little bit. I'm going to talk about a few other NFL quarterbacks that Matt Barkley has something in common with. You got Tim Tebow, Russell Wilson, and Kirk Cousins. Well, Tim Tebow in 2011 started several games for the Denver Broncos, had a winning record, led them to the playoffs, and even won a playoff game. And let's face it, Tim Tebow was a terrible NFL quarterback. But Tim Tebow's no longer in the league, not because of his lack of success on the field, but really more of his lack of success on the practice field. So then we get to Russell Wilson. Here's a third-round draft pick, a guy who's like 5'10", 5'11", very short by today's NFL quarterback standards. He's been to a Super Bowl. He's won a Super Bowl. He's been to the playoffs every year, and he is a definite, legitimate franchise quarterback in the NFL. And some could argue he's a top 3 or top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Then you got Kirk Cousins. He was drafted in 2012. The same year the Washington Redskins also took Robert Griffin as the number 2 overall pick, trading a whole bunch of other draft picks. Well, when Robert Griffin got hurt and things didn't work out for him, Kirk Cousins got his chance, struggled quite a bit in 2013, played most of 2014 and still struggled, but then kind of really found his groove in 2015. Had Robert Griffin worked out, Kirk Cousins probably wouldn't have got his chance, but he did. And he did very well in 2015, led the Redskins to the playoffs, threw for over 4,000 yards, and had a very good passer rating. The Redskins gave him the franchise tag. They weren't quite sure if he was a legitimate franchise quarterback. They wanted to see him for one more year. Well, he's doing very well again this year, so I'm quite sure Kirk Cousins, the Washington Redskins, will give him that $100 million contract, and if they don't, somebody else will. So, what do Tim Tebow, Russell Wilson, and Kirk Cousins have in common? They all have very strong Christian faiths, and I think it served them quite well. They're excellent leaders, and they're definitely overachievers. Although Tim Tebow's career didn't work out, I don't think anyone would argue that he maybe was perhaps a bit of an overachiever the one year at least he had the chance to play. Definitely Russell Wilson and Kirk Cousins are overachievers. They have excellent work ethics. They're very smart. They study film, and they become legitimate franchise quarterbacks. In Russell Wilson's case, a Pro Bowl quarterback. So that leads us to Matt Barkley. Here's a guy who, after his junior year in USC, was projected to be a first-round draft pick, but decided to stay in school for his senior year. he lost a couple games his senior year, and then he got hurt. And unfortunately for him, his draft stock plummeted. And he ended up going in the fourth round, was a backup for a couple years for Philadelphia. When he did play, he didn't do anything spectacular. I guess he doesn't have NFL arm strength compared to a lot of franchise quarterbacks. But now he's finally got his chance with the Bears the last 3 games, and he's really done very well with absolutely no talent around him. If it wasn't for a couple key drops and a couple holding penalties in the games against Tennessee and the Detroit Lions, he could very possibly be 3-0 as a starter. So what does Matt Barkley have in common with Kirk Cousins and Russell Wilson and Tim Tebow? He also has a very strong Christian faith. And yes, I'm the optimist, and I'm looking at the glass half full, but I'm just hoping that Matt Barkley could be that franchise quarterback that Jay Cutler never quite became, and that the talent we thought he had after his junior year in USC is the real him, and that his Christian faith, much like Kirk Cousins and Russell Wilson, and to maybe a lesser extent Tim Tebow, serves him well. So I really hope the Bears re-sign him for 2017, and he gets a chance to prove himself, and he might be the next Kirk Cousins, who incidentally is going to be facing in a couple weeks.